The medical bay hummed with the low thrum of atmospheric regulators, casting long shadows across the recovery ward. Lieutenant Arya Voss lay motionless on the biogel mattress, her breathing shallow but steady. Bandages wrapped around her torso, stained with the faint residue of cauterized wounds. She had survived the Battle of Kryn's Edge. Barely, but survival came at a cost the station's medics were still calculating. Outside her recovery chamber, the corridor bustled with activity. Nurses, technicians, and guards moved with purpose, their faces etched with exhaustion. The battle had taken its toll on everyone, but none had fought as fiercely as the human lieutenant. Stories of her last stand were already spreading through the fleet like wildfire. What no one expected was what happened as the station's artificial night cycle began. Two shapes slipped through the shadows, silent as death itself. They were small, no larger than Terran wolves, but their presence commanded immediate attention. Rin and Vek, twin Kalith predator cubs, moved with the fluid grace of apex hunters. Their obsidian fur absorbed the dim lighting, making them appear as living voids. Crystalline eyes glowed with an eerie amber luminescence, tracking every movement in the corridor. The cubs padded into Arya's chamber without hesitation. By the void, a Zenthari guard gasped, his forearms reaching instinctively for his plasma rifle. His partner, a hulking Gorath warrior, froze mid-step. Don't, the Gorath rumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. Those are Kalith hunters. I know what they are, the Zenthari hissed back. That's why we need to. You'll die before you take 3 steps. The guard fell silent. Both watched as Rin circled the human's bed once, twice, then settled at its foot. Vek took position near the chamber entrance, his massive head lowered but alert. The message was unmistakable. No one enters. Word spread quickly through the station. By the second hour of night cycle, a crowd had gathered outside the medical bay. Nurses, soldiers, even Captain Torvax himself. The Dralaxian commander stood with his arms crossed, his ridged brow furrowed in contemplation. Kalith predators don't guard, muttered Dr. Salis, the station's chief medical officer. Her tentacles writhed nervously. They hunt. They kill. They certainly don't protect other species. Yet here we are, Torvax replied. Sir, we need to sedate them or... You will do no such thing, Doctor. The captain's voice carried the weight of absolute authority. If those cubs wanted Lieutenant Voss dead, she would be. They're here for a reason. What reason could possibly? A low growl cut through the conversation. Vek had risen to his feet, his lips curled back to reveal rows of serrated teeth. A maintenance technician had wandered too close to the entrance, datapad in hand, oblivious to the danger. The cub's warning was clear. Back away. The technician stumbled backward, his face drained of color. Vek settled back down, satisfied. Fascinating, breathed xenobiologist Karth, who had arrived with a portable scanner. Their behavior is completely unprecedented. Kalith cubs are typically kept isolated until maturity. They're taught to hunt alone, to trust no one. This shouldn't be possible. Then explain it, Torvax demanded. Karth's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. During the battle, Lieutenant Voss was pinned down in Sector 7, correct? Correct. She held the line alone for 43 minutes against a Harvester assault squad. Sector 7 borders the Kalith refugee habitat, the area we established for survivors from the Kalith homeworld. Karth pulled up a holographic display. These cubs, Rin and Vek, they were orphaned 3 cycles ago. Their mother was killed during a Harvester raid. They've been difficult, refusing food, attacking handlers, showing signs of severe trauma. What does this have to do with the lieutenant? Look at the battle logs. Karth zoomed in on a specific timestamp. At 1847 hours, Lieutenant Voss's position was overrun. She fell back into the habitat zone. The Harvesters followed. The hologram displayed thermal imaging. Arya, wounded and desperate, firing her last magazine. Then, 2 smaller heat signatures emerged from the habitat structures. The cubs. They had attacked the harvesters with terrifying efficiency, their claws and teeth tearing through armor that plasma fire struggled to penetrate. She didn't retreat, Torvax realized. She led them away from the cubs. And the cubs remember, Karth confirmed. Kalith possess eidetic memory. They imprint on those who protect them. Lieutenant Voss saved their lives, and now they're returning the favor. Inside the chamber, Arya stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the dim light. Pain lanced through her ribs, but she forced herself to remain still. Something warm pressed against her hand. She turned her head slowly. Rin lay beside the bed, his massive paw resting on her fingers. The cub's eyes met hers, intelligent, knowing, grateful. "Hey there, little guy," Arya whispered, her voice hoarse. "You shouldn't be here." Rin made a sound, not quite a purr, but something close. Vec approached from the entrance, nuzzling his brother before fixing his gaze on the human. Together, the cubs formed an impenetrable wall around her bed. Outside, Dr. Salis checked her medical scanners. Her vitals are stabilizing, heart rate decreasing, stress hormones normalizing. Whatever they're doing, it's helping. Captain Torvax nodded slowly. "Postguards at the corridor junction. No one enters this chamber without my express permission. If those cubs want to stay, they stay." "But, sir, that's an order, Doctor." The night cycle continued. Guards rotated shifts, but none dared approach Arya's chamber. The cubs remained vigilant, their presence a deterrent more effective than any security system. Nurses monitored from the doorway, adjusting treatment remotely rather than risk entering. In the quiet darkness, Arya ran her fingers through Rin's obsidian fur. The cub leaned into her touch, a sound like distant thunder rumbling in his chest. Vec maintained his watch but occasionally glanced back, checking on his brother and their unlikely guardian. "You know," Arya murmured, "where I come from, people used to have animals like you. Called them dogs. Loyal, fierce, protective." She smiled despite the pain. "Guess some things are universal." Rin's crystalline eyes reflected the soft glow of medical monitors. In their depths, Arya saw something profound. Not just animal instinct, but genuine connection. She had saved them not because she expected anything in return, but because it was right, and they understood. As dawn cycle approached, the cubs finally began to relax. Rin curled tighter against the bed, his breathing deepening into sleep. Vec lowered his head to his paws, though his ears remained alert. Captain Torvax watched from the observation window, a rare smile crossing his weathered features. "Humanity," he said softly to Karth. "They don't just survive, they connect. Even in the midst of war, surrounded by death, they find something worth protecting. It's what makes them dangerous," Karth observed, "but also valuable." Indeed. That night, no guard approached Lieutenant Arya Voss's bed. They didn't need to. She had the best protection in the entire fleet. 2 predator cubs who had learned that sometimes the fiercest warriors have the gentlest hearts, and in a galaxy consumed by war, that lesson was worth more than any weapon.